What's up guys, JackGalactic here, back with another video, and I just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. Hope you guys had a great one. Hope that you stayed safe and you had a good time with friends and family, and I hope that 2024 is the best year ever. The question is 2024 going to be the best year ever for Fortnite? I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to tell, kind of hard to say. It's still early, obviously. It's only day one of 2024. It's hard to know what this year is going to bring. But I couldn't help but be reminded of the fact that because it is January 1st today, that means that we have made it a solid month into the Chapter 5 map. And I couldn't help but notice that means that we've spent exactly as much time with Chapter 5 as we did with the resurgence of OG last year. So, question you have to ask yourself is, what's better? Is the modern Chapter 5 map better, or was OG Fortnite better? And as someone who was not an OG player, as someone who did not start playing until Chapter 3, Season 3, I think I can safely say that OG is a better game than modern Fortnite. I can't necessarily tell you why. I've actually spent several days trying to think of, what it is that makes the OG Fortnite kind of meta better than what we have in either Chapter 4, Chapter 5, even dare I say Chapter 3. It's hard to tell. I don't really know exactly what it is. I mean, there's some things that I think that they do that OG did better that I felt like in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 they were kind of missing. But the thing is, Chapter 5 sort of balanced that for me. So one of the things that I talked about a lot, and if you watch some of my other videos during OG, one of the things I mentioned was I felt like a lot of the POIs in the OG map were, yes, a little more simple than what we had in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, but I did not feel like that they were too small, or that there was maybe too few of them. Yeah, there was a lot of space in between the POIs, with not a lot of cover, as you're seeing here. I'm just being shot from every direction. There's really no place to go. But other than the lack of cover, not a whole lot of buildings and things in between the POIs. The POIs themselves in the OG map, I just think are better POIs. I think they're just big enough that you can get in, you can get looted. If you have to have a fight, it gives you just enough cover to get in position and plan your attack. How are you going to do it? It's not an endless maze of corridors and rooms and hallways and levels that you can go and get lost in and basically avoid every fight. If you get caught up in, retail or tilted or anything like that, maybe you can get away, but your much better course of action probably is just going to be to get in position and mount a good offense. Whereas in the Chapter 4 map, I think especially, but even in Chapter 5, the POIs are a little bit more complicated, a little bit, maybe not the overall size of the POIs are bigger. In some cases they can be pretty decently sized. Obviously the medallion POIs are pretty good sized POIs, but even the ones that aren't necessarily bigger per se, when you go into a lot of the buildings, they are a little bit more complicated, a little bit more rooms and corridors and various levels, and it can be harder to me, I find it more mentally taxing to try to clear those POIs. To me, OG was such an easier just game. Land anywhere you want to land. I felt like it was easier to clear those POIs than it was during Chapter 4, and as I've seen with Chapter 5. Yes, there were some issues with the loot pool. Obviously there wasn't a lot of loot, there wasn't a lot of guns. You obviously weren't finding much other than green guns. You weren't seeing tons of purple or gold, and you definitely were not seeing nearly enough health and shield. So obviously I would say that Chapter 5 did a little bit better job on the health and shield front, but really the loot pool in Chapter 5 I think is a little bit lighter compared to what we had in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. It's not as light as what we had in OG, but it's a bit of a balance between the two, and again, I don't mind that as much. I felt like during Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 that I was woefully outgunned all the time. I was always coming across some golden, mythic, exotic, rare, whatever, something. And it was so hard to play against that. And there was 10,000 of those guns everywhere you go, you know. Now, yeah, you're seeing a little bit more gold guns in Chapter 5 than you did in OG, but it was kind of nice to see it taken back to more of a standard loot pool. But, you know, I think really at the end of the day, the thing that made OG so good was just, it's a simple game. It's a basic game. It's, you drop in, you loot up, you play. You try to get your wins, try to get your kills, and you drop into the next game when you can't do it, you know? Whereas with Chapter 4, Chapter 5, you know, it's all about getting the bosses, getting to the vaults, getting the key card, getting the, you know, the radio tower for forecast. You know, it's, none of it is even about playing the game. You know, what I find is if I drop into the game now, and let's say I drop in and I decide I'm going to go for a mythic boss, mod out whatever weapon is I'm trying to mod out. By the time I've done that, got the boss, got all the AI, you know, cleared the other people that were coming in trying to get the boss too, got into the vault, done what I wanted to do. Not only is the storm almost always on me at that point, now I'm running through the storm, losing health, but by the time I finally do make it through all that, there's like 10 people left in the game, you know? It's like you've spent your entire game getting prepared and you never actually get a chance to play. Whereas with OG, man, I just felt like you dropped in, you just started playing. And I was getting, you know, a lot of higher kill games, comparatively speaking, to what I saw in Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. Now, in Chapter 4, I was doing a lot of ranked. I was playing almost exclusively ranked for like the last season. So that made a big difference, especially once I started getting into like gold and platinum. Obviously, those lobbies are way harder than your average public lobby. So you're not going to get, you know, 6, 8, 10 kill games, at least not a player like me, isn't going to get 6 or 8 or 10 kills, you know, in a gold or a platinum lobby. But, you know, you don't need that much when you're playing ranked. You know, you get 1 or 2 kills, you're usually pretty good to go. I remember that. I didn't actually realize at the time that the driftboard could not go on water. Yeah, it could not. Anyway, back to what I was saying, sorry. Just laughing at the video there. But, yeah, so, when I'm faced with, landing in the Chapter 5 map, it was the same problem I had in Chapter 4. You know, so much of the game is dedicated to just kind of getting ready for the game. And I don't like having to think that much. I don't like having to plan that far ahead. I don't like having to sort of map out how I want my whole game to go. I just want to drop in and play, you know? And that was the beauty of OG. And that's probably the thing I miss the most. I mean, I do miss a lot of the POIs. None of the POIs on the Chapter 5 map have struck me as much as some of the ones that I fell in love with in OG. You know, the Westworld, Little Mexico area was probably my favorite landing spot in that map. Big fan of Paradise. Obviously, that was my main place I rotated to after I landed at Westworld. Of course, having Tilted back was great. I mean, Tilted should pretty much always be there. And I think maybe that's the problem with Fortnite, is they change too much. You know, people don't want to see an entirely new map with entirely new POIs. They would like to see a hodgepodge of everything that they've ever liked before kind of being all in the game at one time. And I think they could do it, but for whatever reason, they don't, you know. I mean, they could have a whole map of nothing but POIs with just a little bit of space in between them, and they could fit every solid POI that we've ever had on this map. But, you know, that's not what they're trying to do. They try to keep it, you know, 8, 10, 12 named POIs, and then, you know, twice as many unnamed smaller POIs, and then the rest of it's just wide open space. So, you know, part of being a Fortnite player is just dealing with the inevitable change that is the game. The game is always going to change. It's always going to offer something new. But, you know, I think this Fortnite OG season really did open Epic's eyes. They saw, you know, let's face it, it blew everybody's expectations out of the water, including Epic's. Even the most diehard, dedicated OG Fortnite players did not expect it to blow up this big. This was bigger than Fortnite was at its height. And then we drop back into Chapter 5, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still lots of people playing, And obviously the new modes, the rocket racing and the Lego mode, people are really liking that, and the Fortnite Festival mode. There's lots of things to keep people interested, but I just don't know how much Battle Royale is truly keeping people interested. You know, the medallion bosses and all that, you know, they kind of lost their novelty pretty quickly, as they usually do. You know, a lot of the content creators, they're showing a lot of like Lego, and they're still doing a lot of like creative and private maps. Like, just, I'm not seeing the excitement for the Chapter 5 Battle Royale map that you were seeing during OG. And I don't know if Epic can ever get that back, you know, with a modern map. But we do know that Epic has said that some way, somehow, they're going to bring OG back in 2024. They haven't really told us how they're going to do it. I am inclined to think that what they're going to do is offer a mode for OG Fortnite, but how they'll do it is it probably would be like a non-ranked mode, maybe not even like a battle pass mode. It'd be a full game, but I don't think that you'd be able to get like rewards and things on it like that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I do look forward to the time when they bring OG back. And in the meantime, I'm definitely going to keep playing Chapter 5. I'm still liking Chapter 5 for sure, but I don't like it as much as OG. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Why don't you leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think. Which is better, OG or Chapter 4? We'll see you in the next one. Peace.